Eala, lernen knichtas. Welcome to these Old English Grammar Bites, videos that will help you to understand Old English grammar at your own pace. You can watch these videos as often as you want, or you can pause and rewind if things are going too fast for you. Good luck and enjoy. In this video, we're going to focus on adjectives. We'll look at the difference between strong adjectives and weak adjectives. Finally, I want to show you how you can use Peter Baker's Old English Magic Sheet to dissect certain noun phrases. But let's start by locating the adjectives on Peter Baker's Old English Magic Sheet. You can find the adjectives on the left, somewhere near the middle of your magic sheet. Let's zoom in. As you can see, Old English adjectives, like pronouns and demonstrative pronouns and nouns, have a variety of inflectional forms, corresponding to the various cases, whether the adjective is singular or plural, and the various grammatical genders. In addition, you can see that the adjectives fall into two categories, strong and weak. You might also notice that some of the inflectional endings are similar to the endings for the various forms of nouns and demonstrative pronouns, and that, like the nouns, the length of the stem matters for the strong, neuter and feminine forms. Hopefully, having come across most of these features before will make learning about adjectives and understanding adjectives easier for you. It's important to note one major difference between Old English nouns and adjectives before we continue. Whereas an Old English noun, such as but, is always masculine, an adjective adjusts itself to the gender and case and number of the noun it modifies. In this sense, the adjective resembles the demonstrative pronoun. This means that the adjective God, good, can be either masculine, neuter or feminine depending on the context in which it appears. Let me illustrate. In the phrase, say goda but, goda is masculine because so is but. In that goda ship, goda is neuter because so is ship. And in say or goda glove, goda is feminine because so is glove. Remember, nouns are born masculine, neuter or feminine. They belong to one gender and one gender only. Adjectives are shapeshifters and adjust to the context in which they are used. Repeat after me. Adjectives agree with their nouns in number, gender and case.
Adjectives agree with their nouns in number, gender and case.
Like nouns, adjectives come in two different flavours, weak and strong. You may remember that the term weak is simply another term for little inflectional variety. If we look at the weak adjectives, we can see that, like the weak nouns, they mostly end in on. However, when it comes to the difference between weak and strong, there is another big difference between nouns and adjectives. Whereas nouns are either strong or weak, again they're born this way, adjectives are strong or weak depending on the context in which they appear. But, and this is a big but, whether an adjective is weak or strong does not depend on the kind of noun the adjective modifies. Repeat after me. Whether adjectives are strong or weak is independent from the nouns they modify.
Whether adjectives are strong or weak is independent from the nouns they modify.
So what does the difference depend on? Here's an overview of possible contexts in which you might encounter a strong form or a weak form of an adjective. Note that I've used the same noun in each phrase. God bat, say goda bat, his goda bat. Thas dwerges goda bat, eala goda bat. As you can see, the adjective is strong in the first example. In the other four examples, it is weak. Adjectives are declined weak when they're modified by a demonstrative pronoun, as in say goda bat, a possessive pronoun or adjective like his goda bat. Adjectives are also declined weak when they're preceded or modified by a possessive noun phrase, as in thas dwerges goda bat, and in so-called vocative expressions, such as eala Godabat. Hello, good boat. In no other contexts, adjectives are declined strong. In other words, whenever you're confronted with a question like, is this adjective weak or strong, all you need to do is look at the context in which it appears. If the difference between weak and strong adjectives seems confusing to you, and you happen to be, like me, a Dutch person, you're in luck, because however it works in Old English with strong and weak adjectives, it also works this way in Dutch. Let's have a look. The contexts in which an Old English adjective is either strong or weak are parallel to the contexts in which Dutch adjectives get an extra E at the end or not, although this overview simplifies matters somewhat. So, when an Old English or Dutch adjective is modified by a demonstrative pronoun, it is weak, as in say goda, but, and het goede nieuws. Similarly, a possessive pronoun or adjective like his or Dutch zijn also triggers a weak adjective. His goda baat and zijn goede nieuws. Likewise, possessive noun phrases such as thas dwerges in Old English and jaspers in Dutch trigger the weak adjective. Thas dwerges goda baat and jaspers goede nieuws. If these triggers are absent, the Old English and Dutch adjectives are declined strong. God baat and goed nieuws. Isn't that good news for you Dutch people? Now that you've grasped the difference between weak and strong adjectives, and you've also learned how to work with demonstrative pronouns and nouns, it is time to combine all of your powers and look at certain noun phrases and see how you can use information from the demonstrative pronoun or the adjective to say more about the noun. Let us consider the following noun phrase. Reatne knapan, the red boy. Say you want to find out what the case, gender and number of the noun knapan is. How are you going to go about this? First of all, we can look at the table of nouns on our magic sheet and find out what forms of nouns end in on, like knapan. This does not help us much. If you only look at knapan, this noun might be masculine, neuter, or feminine. Luckily, the noun phrase is more than just the noun, and within a noun phrase, all elements share number, gender, and case. In the noun phrase reatne knapan, we can also look at what the adjective might tell us. Since reatne must be a strong adjective in this phrase, and if you don't know why, re-watch the first bit of this video, we need to look at the strong adjectives. There we can see that only one specific form ends in ne, like reatne. That form is godne, the singular masculine accusative form. And if reatne is singular masculine and accusative, then so is knapan. Puzzle solved. Occasionally, both the noun and adjective are little informative. Consider, for instance, thone readan knapan. In this noun phrase, both the noun and the adjective are weak, and they both end in on, which means a lot of options are left open. The demonstrative pronoun, however, does reveal the information we need. We can see that thone is the form for masculine singular accusative. And therefore, if thone is masculine singular accusative, then so must readan be, and so must knapan be. Again, mystery solved. My last example of a noun phrase is tha stanas. In this case, let's start from the left with the demonstrative pronoun. As you can see, tha can be either singular feminine accusative or nominative accusative plural, in which case it might be masculine, neuter, or feminine. Clearly, we need to look at the noun as well in order to find out more. If we look at the nouns, we need to look for the noun form that ends in us, like stanas. The only form that matches stanas is batas, the plural masculine accusative or nominative form. What we can establish about tha stanas then is that it is plural, not singular, masculine, not feminine or neuter, and the case is either nominative or accusative, definitely not genitive and not dative. Now, whether tha stanas is nominative or accusative is hard to tell without the context of the sentence. Sometimes it turns out the dissection of noun phrases does not hold all the answers, but we can at least eliminate some of the wrong choices. Whenever you come across a noun phrase in your readings of Old English, why not put your wits and intelligence to the test and find out as much as you can about that noun phrase by analysing the inventive pronoun, the adjective and the noun. Consider them as little puzzles that you get to solve. That's it for this clip. I hope you've understood the difference between strong adjectives and weak adjectives. And remember, if you're Dutch, you're actually in luck, because Dutch has retained some of the qualities of Old English that English has lost over the past 1,000 years. We'll see that again when we look at verbs, but that's something for another video.